Alrighty, holy crap. Oh my goodness. Look where I'm at. So this is the orientation day 2 video. I'm uploading the orientation day 1 video. I tried uploading it through the Quality Inn's Wi-Fi, and after I don't know how many hours, probably 5, 6, 7 hours, it stalled out on me, and I dropped connection to the Wi-Fi, and it messed up the video upload, and I was like, screw it, I'll deal with it later. So I had an opportunity to upload it now because I'm at home, so I'm uploading it at this very moment while I make this video. I don't even know what I said in the day 1 orientation video. Day 2 has been like, okay, so number 1, the stuff. Okay, what we did in day 1 of orientation was just like filling out paperwork, W-4s and uh, like direct deposit and a whole bunch of stuff like that. And like compliance type stuff. Like they probably get an insurance discount for having us take a defensive driving course. So a defensive driving course. There was day 1 was just getting us processed in and having us go through some compliance type stuff, watching videos and things. Day 2 was actual stuff. Day 2 was a ton of stuff. They went over hours of service, their personal conveyance rules, because personal conveyance is really broadly defined by FMCSA. You can, man, personal conveyance can really be used. But companies typically have their own limits on it, and so they went over their limits on it. They discussed yard move and stuff like that. And what's really weird is the stuff they talked about in personal conveyance and yard move. They, I don't think that they're current. I think that they haven't updated their slides because they said on personal conveyance they have their own personal limit of 46 miles. They said that you have to return to the point where you left in personal conveyance. I'm not sure if that's a company policy. I don't know. I think that used to be the FMCSA rule, but I thought they changed that. Also, another thing was laden. Like, you cannot do personal conveyance with a loaded trailer. But that's not true either. I don't know. I'm really confused with the whole personal conveyance thing. What they were teaching us seemed to be old information, and I thought that it was changed, but I could be wrong on that. Maybe the change hasn't gone into effect. The other thing was yard move. They said that you could do yard moves in truck stops and stuff like that. I was under the impression that yard move could only be done in a private area that was restricted access. Like, if the shipper and receiver did not have a gate or a sign that said private property don't enter or something, if they had nothing, if it was completely like any random car could drive into the shipper and receiver's docking area, you could not use yard move there. Also, if you drove across a public roadway or an unrestricted area, you couldn't use yard move to go across that. That had to be on duty driving. They said that you can use it at truck stops, shippers, and receivers, and they didn't explain that there were any restrictions on it whatsoever. And like, I don't think that's I don't think that's true. There were a bunch of things like, well, I won't say a bunch of things. I think there were a couple of things that they said that I it didn't make any sense. I don't think that they were correct. Another thing was they didn't go over the 8-2 split on hours of service. Somebody asked about it, and I'm not sure if the trainer said that it's not allowed at USA Truck or that they just don't teach it. But he said something along the lines of people don't understand it, and every time they try to use it, they just screw up their logs and they go into violation because they don't understand the 2/8 split. Well, I lived on the split last time I was driving, so I was hoping to be able to do the 2/8 split. I hope that they don't have some rule against it, because the 2/8 split's the only way I can think of to bypass the stupid 30-minute required break. And that's what I was planning on using it for, was just constantly do 2/8 splits so that I could bypass that dumb break. And you're losing at least 30 minutes a day, maybe an hour a day if you have to take 2:30s on that 24-hour period. And that that can eat up 5, 6, maybe 7 hours of your week is just pushed out. And it just messes up your week. But alright, so yeah, class was just tons of stuff. Everybody was waiting on their drug test results, hoping that they would come in today. I think I said in the last video that orientation was supposed to end on Wednesday, but whoever does their drug tests has been really good about getting them back early. So they've been sending people out Tuesday instead of Wednesday. So they had us check out of the hotel and bring all of our luggage with us to orientation on day 2, Tuesday. Okay, a little gripe here about not necessarily bringing my luggage in or checking out of the hotel or anything like that. The smoking area in general, a gripe. The smoking area is not like over out of the way in a place where non-smokers are not going to have to deal with it. The smoking area is at the entrance to the driver lounge and the orientation. You have to walk through that nasty crap to get into the orientation room, to get into the driver lounge, to access the vending machines. The entrance to all of the stuff in that area is right there at the smoking area. The smoking area is it's nasty, it's disgusting. I can still taste cigarettes in my mouth and my throat from walking through it briefly. And I tried to put my luggage in the back of the classroom against the wall, and the instructor told me to put it outside on the rack. Well, guess where the rack is? There's a luggage rack, basically. It's in the smoking area. Like, right in the smoking area. Like, when I say smoking area, I'm not talking about this massive field of smoking area. I'm talking about probably 10 feet by 50 feet smoking area. And the rack is right there where everybody's just chain smoking all day long, and it is just so rank and nasty, and it's just thick clouds of disgusting. I'm sure that all my luggage smells like cigarettes now, and they're going to smell like that forever. I was a little salty about being forced to put my luggage out there on the luggage rack, and I was like, if this orientation was more than the 2 or 3 days, if this was like a 2-week orientation, I would have like made a really big deal out of the smoking area. But man, the smoking, I'm really ticked off about the way they have the smoking area set up. It is just like, I can't explain how, like, I can still taste cigarettes, but just from how, like, anyway, I'm not going to ramble about it anymore. But I just bit my tongue on it and dealt with it because orientation was so short. So enough about me griping about the smoking area. I don't even think that's legal. I don't know, like, most states... here I am. I'm about to digress, start complaining about it again. Real briefly, what I was about to say is I don't think there's any federal law on smoking areas, but maybe Arkansas has really lax laws on smoking areas. Most states have, come up with pretty strict ordinances and laws on smoking areas where they have to be away from everybody else in a way that non-smokers don't have to get secondhand smoke. So anyway, enough about that. So I'm at home. There's a story to that I'm getting to eventually. It's probably gonna be at the end. So you're gonna have to sit through like 3 hours. This is gonna be a 3 hour long video. Don't use the fast forward. There'll be other stuff. Uh, so everybody's waiting on their drug screens today. Like, was tons and tons of information. It was information overload. It was tons of really, really important information, and they just blew through it real quick. You did not have enough time to retain any of it. It was just, and whenever we asked, like, there was one guy in there that asked, like, every slide, "Are we going to get a copy of this?" And he was like, "No, if you have any questions, ask your driver manager." Jeez, man. Okay, so lots and lots of stuff we went through that was really important. There was some processing with us that they could not do until we got our drug screen results back. Today was the day we got our company badges. We got our com data cards, which com data back when I drove last time was just a little card that only worked at truck stops, basically. And it had very limited uses. You could only use it to fuel up and a couple of other things. The new com data card is it's a MasterCard. You can use it anywhere MasterCard's accepted, and it does all the same stuff that ComData used to. It's pretty sweet. But yeah, we got our ComData cards. We got which reminds me, my I don't have a driver manager because I'm a student. I have a trainer manager or something like that, or a student manager. I forgot what her title is. Sheila. She told Jerry and I that we have to call the number on the back of our com data card and set a pin within 24 hours, or bad things will happen. I don't know. So when I get done with this video, I'll do that so I don't forget. But so I think there were about 6 of us out of a class size of about 11 that got drug test results today. I was one of them. I passed. Can you believe it? I'm not a crackhead. Who would have thunk it? Man, I'd be a lot skinnier. Okay, so about halfway through the day, I think I mentioned that. No, I didn't mention. Did I? I don't even remember what I've said so far. About halfway through the day, maybe less than halfway through the day, I want to say it was around 10 a.m. And our day started at 7, ends at 3. Somebody called me in to one of the side rooms and was like, "Hey, I'm having an issue with a trainer shortage." He said, "I have tons of trainers, but they're all smokers. Would you be willing to go with a smoker?" And I said, "Absolutely not." Like, I was already about to snap over the damn smoking area. And then he comes in there and asks me if I want to live with a smoker in a truck. Truck drivers chain smoke. I don't want to live with that kind of nasty. Like, no joke, I can still taste cigarettes right now. And I've eaten and, like, drank stuff, and oh my God, it just seeps into everything. It takes days to get rid of it. Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I think he asked all of us. No. So there are 4 students, me and Jerry, and then there's a girl, and then there's a guy that I don't know why they're making him go as a student. Maybe it's because he didn't have enough experience. He said that he went through training with Stevens. No, wait, was it Stevens or was it Trans Am? No, it was Trans Am. He went through Trans Am's CDL student thing, and he quit them. I think he said he drove for them for like 3 to 6 months. So apparently, whatever he did there wasn't good enough for USA Truck, so they made him go through as a student. But he is a smoker, so I'm sure he's going to get placed with a trainer without issue. The girl didn't get her drug screening back yet. They told her that they didn't have any female trainers and asked if she would be willing to train with a male, and she said yes. But they didn't ask her about whether she would be willing to train with a smoker. But they asked Jerry and I, and both of us said no. So she went back to the hotel for the night, awaiting her drug results. And I guess they'll deal with the trainer situation with her tomorrow. But Jerry and I are completely done with the orientation and the training, or whatever, not the training, but the orientation and our drug screenings, and we're fully employed at USA Truck now. So Sheila, the trainer manager, pulled Jerry and I aside into a break room, and she said, congratulations, good news is that you passed your drug tests, and you're done with orientation. And I was like, yes, got that drug test. I'm a good tester. But she said the bad news is that not only did she not have any trainers available that were non-smokers, she wasn't expecting to have any available until Friday. And this is Tuesday. Today, right now, as I'm recording this, is Tuesday of next week. Not this Friday. And I was like, damn. Well, she didn't give that news right up front. First, she talked with Jerry and asked Jerry what he wanted to do. She said, it's going to be a few days before your trainer's available. She told Jerry that it was going to be, I don't know how many days, 3, 4, 5 days. I can't remember what she told him. But Jerry's from Houston, and he drove a rental car up from Houston. I think he said it was an 8 or 9 hour drive. She asked him if he wanted to get a rental to go back to Houston, and what she was going to do is put him up in a hotel for tonight, and then he could drive out tomorrow, because it's like an 8 or 9 hour drive. And he's been up since probably 5 a.m. and it's at this point it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Jerry said that he moved out of his apartment when he went into orientation. Like, he doesn't have an apartment or anything to go back to. And she was like, oh, that's fine. If you want to stay in the hotel instead, then we'll just pay for your hotel. And he was like, yeah, that'll work out well. So he's just going to stay in the hotel until he gets placed. And then they asked me if I wanted to just stay in the hotel, or if I wanted to go back home while I wait. And I said, that depends. How long is it going to be? Like, if it's 2 days, I'll just stay in the hotel. And that's when she told me it was going to be Friday next week. Not this Friday. Next week. Hopefully. The thing is that he has a student right now that is supposed to end training sometime, I think, next Wednesday. And then he's going to take time off after that. And they're hoping that he's going to be available to pick me up by Friday. But they're not 100%, because I don't think he said exactly how much home time he wants to take or anything like that. But so Okay, so a few cool things. So they asked me if I want to go home, and I said, or stay in the hotel, and I said, well, if it's going to be that long, then yeah, I'm going to go back to my house. I only live like 3 hours away. And she said, all right, I'll put you up at a hotel, and then I'll get you a rental car booked for tomorrow. And I said, well, if you're able to book the rental car now, I can just drive now and save the money of staying in a hotel tonight. And she's like, are you okay with that? You're good to drive tonight? And I was like, yeah, it's only like 3 hours away. And she's like, oh yeah, that'll work out great. So she was really, really nice. And she told both of us that since it's not our fault, we were there ready to start training today, that they're going to pay us the training wage while we wait to go into training. So it's not a lot of money. It's $85 a day. Orientation pay and training pay are the same amount, $85 a day. So we're going to get $85 a day every single day that we're waiting to get on the trainer truck. So it's not 5 days a week. It's every single day. So that's I think that's pretty nice of them. They probably could have weaseled their way out of that, but there were some negative things. So that was one really big negative thing, was that I'm gonna have to wait for a trainer. That was one of my questions to the recruiting department whenever I was trying to decide whether I wanted to go to USA Truck or not. Was I've heard horror stories about waiting for anywhere from 1 week to 6 weeks for a trainer, especially at a place like Prime. And I asked, if there were any wait for trainers, and they were told that they told me no, absolutely not. They have so many trainers, there's never ever any wait. And they did have a ton of trainers there ready, but they were all smokers, and almost everyone in our orientation was a smoker. Like, smoking is dying off in most of the places that I normally dwell, but in the trucking industry, smoking is still going really strong. There are a lot of smokers in the trucking industry, apparently. Most people I know have quit smoking. So it's anyway, I don't want to get off on another smoking tangent. But so that's pretty cool. They're paying us $85 a day. One bit of bad news was they had us sign a paper about what our rate of pay would be, an agreement, and mine said 40 cents a mile. And I said, that's not what my recruiter told me. And she said, well, what did your recruiter tell you? And I said, 42 cents a mile. And she said, well, I can't do anything about it. Go talk with your recruiter. The recruiters were in the next room, so I went over and talked to the recruiter. She said, what's up? And I said, they wanted me to sign, I told her, they want me to sign something saying it's 40 cents a mile. You told me it's 42. And I you can't trust salespeople, and recruiters are salespeople. So I don't know if she just flat out lied to me or if she screwed up. She admitted that she screwed up. Now I don't know if she screwed up or if she intentionally lied. But the thing is that they have USA Truck has the country east of I-35 where they operate and hire. They have it broken into regions. I think there's 4 different regions. It's like the South, Southeast, Midwest, and Northeast. And the pay for each of those regions is different. The South, where I'm out of, is I think it's the lowest pay region. And what she did was she told me the starting pay of the Midwest, which is like Illinois and I don't remember. It's north of Oklahoma, like Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio. I think I'm not sure if Ohio's in the Northeast or if it's in the Midwest. I'm sure they've got a map online. If you're that interested, you can go look it up. But she quoted me for a different region that I'm not in, and she apologized multiple times. and I said, "Don't worry about it." Like, I didn't really want to make a big deal out of it. Hopefully, it was just an honest mistake. But I was prepared to go to USA Truck, and I had my plan set whenever they told me 34 cents a mile. So even 40 cents a mile is a big upgrade from what they initially told me. So yeah, that kind of sucks. So not having a trainer available and then making 2 cents a mile less is uh, yeah, it sucks. But so I'm home now for approximately a week and a half. Um, I am so worn out right now. I got up at 5 a.m. today, and I think I got the rental car. Okay, so they got a lift for me that picked me up at their at the USA Trucks headquarters there. And the lift took me to Will Rogers, not Will Rogers, to the Fort Smith Regional Airport, tiny little airport. Um, I grew up in near Fort Smith, Arkansas, and I always thought of Fort Smith as a big town. But now going to Fort Smith, it is a tiny town. Uh, yeah, a little bitty airport. It's a really nice airport though. Looks brand new. But so they got a lift to take me to the airport, and I got to the airport, and they gave me a piece of paper with the rental car reservation stuff on it. I didn't really look at it that much, and I got to the airport to pick up the rental car, and I went to the Enterprise desk, which is where I did the last rental car at, and gave them my license, and they were like, "Are you sure it was with Enterprise and not National?" Apparently, Enterprise and National are like the same company or something. And I was like, I don't know. I'm guessing it's Enterprise. And he's like, "I don't show you in either system." And I said, "Well, give me a second. Let me find my reservation paper." And I pulled it out, and it said Hertz on it. And I was like, "Crap, sorry." So I stepped over like to the next booth right next to that guy, and so they got me a premium car. What was it? It was a Chevy Impala that they got me. It was nicer than the Maxima. The Maxima felt kind of cheap. It felt kind of cheap, and the steering on it was I was fighting the wind the whole way there. The Chevy Impala was like much easier to drive. I had to fight a lot less wind. The steering on it, like, it didn't feel like it was constantly drifting to one side or the other on the interstate. So it was a pretty nice car. I still like my car better than either of them. The Maxima felt gutless whenever you push on the throttle or you hit the brake or anything. It just, like, I'm used to my Z, and that thing, if you touch the throttle, it'll take off on you, and if you touch the brake, it'll like almost come to a stop, just tapping it. And neither of those cars were remotely close to that. But the Impala seemed to have a lot more power than the Maxima, and all in all, there was some annoying crap. I don't know how it was determining speed limit, but it kept telling me I was speeding when I wasn't. Like, when I was on 540 in Fort Smith, going over to 40, it was a 65 mile an hour speed limit. I was doing 57 miles an hour, and it started telling me I was going over speed. And I'm like, where are you getting this speed limit? Speed limit's not 55 here. But yeah, I had to deal with constant alerts about speeding while I was driving. I don't know where it was getting the speeds from, but it was wrong almost all the time, and I was getting constant alerts on it. It was annoying. But drove that straight over to here. I was debating on whether to just go to the airport or to go to my house first, and I just decided to go to my house first. I was tired of carrying around my luggage, and I didn't want to have to carry my luggage like a quarter mile from the rental car to wherever an Uber would pick me up. I was just worn out, so yeah, it probably took me an extra 30 to 45 minutes to swing up to my house and then drive back down to the airport. But I swung up to my house with the rental and threw all my luggage in the house and then took it down to the airport and dropped it off. And like, I don't do rental cars. These are the only 2 rental cars I think I've ever done. And the one I dropped off at Fort Smith Regional, they had a parking lot for rental car returns, and it was numbered, and it had the name of the rental car places, like National Enterprise, and then there was another section of it that had Hertz. So I just went and found an open spot in National Enterprise, parked it in there, and there were signs all over the place that said, remember what spot number you park in and what your mileage is. And so I took the keys into the booth, told them what slot I parked in. They didn't care about the mileage because we weren't renting it by the mile. It was unlimited miles. And turned in the keys to him and left, and that was it. He asked me if I filled it up, and I said yeah. Then the return to Will Rogers, I followed the signs, and then it had a sign that said Hertz, pull in here, and I pulled in there, and it said returns on the ground. It was painted, and I followed the returns, and it came up to a stop sign, and there was a booth that said customer service, but nobody was in there. So I was like, well, what in the hell do I do? And so I saw somebody walking around in a Hertz jacket. I thought it was a Hertz jacket, and they looked like they were writing stuff down. And I was like, excuse me, are you with Hertz? And she said, yeah. And I said, do I just like leave the car at the stop sign? And she said, yeah, just leave the keys in it and leave it unlocked. I thought she said unlocked. I wasn't 100% on whether she said locked or unlocked, and I got really concerned about leaving it unlocked with the keys in it. I was like, man, somebody just like take off with the car, and then I don't have any proof that I returned it, and I would be liable for that. And so I tried to cheat, scurried off and got out of my sight, and I was like, damn, I couldn't clarify. So I went in, I walked around until I found their booth that actually had somebody in it, and I waited for her to finish with somebody else, and I asked her, about what I do on a car return, and she said the same thing, leave the keys in it with it unlocked. And I was like, all right. And then I called an Uber and came home, and here I am making a video and uploading a video, and I am just beat. I am so worn out. Oh my goodness. Got like a week and a half of waiting. I'm like half torn right now on whether I hope that tomorrow they call me up and they say, hey, we have a trainer available. And at the same time, I'm also like, I'm going to be so mad if I have to go get a rental and drive back to Van Buren tomorrow. Like, oh my God, I'm getting so tired of driving. But that's exactly what I'm going to be doing when I get in with the trainer's truck and when I get my own truck, and then when I get my lease truck, that's what I'm going to be doing is driving. But I've been it's not so much the driving, it's like the extremely long days right now. I've been up since 5 a.m. It's almost 10. It's 10:18 right now, so that's 5 to 5 is 12 plus another 5, 17 hours and 18 minutes that I've been up so far. Yeah, I'm just beat. So I think I'm going to finish this video there, title it, upload it, and Then I'm gonna flop down in bed and I don't know, watch something on TV and pass out. I need to sleep and just process everything that's happened. There's been so much stuff, but all right, that's it for this video. It'll be a short one, only 35 minutes. There we go.